Hello,
and
welcome
back
to
Gentoo,
your
favorite
place
for
all
things
gaming
and
tech
related.
So let's lock in.
And roll out.
What are we, Autobots?
Yeah, I am, aren't you?
Enter the paradox, the duck paradox, as renowned scientist Dr. Paradox searching for her lost pet duck. Due to a malfunctioning time machine, Dr. Paradox is stuck between space and time, fighting corrupted versions of her beloved pet. Learn difficult to master levels, run after run as you gather upgrades for your trusty ray gun. But watch out, bullets gone astray would bounce back to end your run, and if that's not difficult enough for you, make sure to keep your sanity in check or you might crack. Catch Duck Paradox when it releases on PC on October 9th.
The hit indie game Balatro, a roguelike deck building game, was released in February of this year and has already been played for a cumulative 11,000 years across all platforms. Balatro has been a game coated in praise ever since its release for its satisfying gameplay loop and catchy but subtle synth-heavy soundtrack. Balatro has also been released recently on mobile platforms as well. Many have been commenting on social media that work productivity around the world is going down because of this game. Balatro has also announced a massive free update coming in 2025, so pick up Balatro now and never put it back down.
Now to tackle some tech news.
OpenAI is under fire as its ChatGPT language learning model is being used to influence the election.
It seems cyber criminals have been using the bot to generate fake content, including long-form articles and social media comments.
These comments were aimed at influencing the election with fake news and reports to sow distrust within the political sphere of the United States.
While it seems OpenAI has been on top of this issue, shutting down over 20 different threats identified by their cybersecurity department, there is a worry that they will be overwhelmed by too many accounts across too many platforms.
The Department of Homeland Security also sees a growing threat in Iran, Russia, and China utilizing these tools to disseminate false information leading up to the election day with misleading statistics, polls, and information.
And that just about does it for our tech news this week.
Make sure to check your sources, guys.
But not to drag on about the election, I think I hear some fans clamoring for Corby's Content Corner.
No way! She did what? Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back to Corby's Content Corner, the show where I talk about games I'm passionate about. Now, last episode we talked about Pistol Whip, a rhythm-based VR shooter to ease you into what shooting games are and can be. But we're well deep in the water now. So why don't we talk about some mainstream games, mainstream franchises? That's right, today we're talking about Call of Duty. Now you're probably expecting me to talk about my favorite Call of Duty game and explain why it's the best and yada yada yada, but the truth is, I don't have one. I have two, Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3. Why? Well, let's break it down. The key to a perfect Call of Duty game is all down to the execution of its three main game modes: the campaign, multiplayer, and whatever the special third mode for the game was, which for these was Spec Ops and Zombies. First off is the campaign. It must tell an engaging story with memorable characters in an action-packed adventure. Black Ops 2 continued the amazing story that Black Ops 1 left off with, and Modern Warfare 3 ended the trilogy for the Modern Warfare story with a chilling antagonist, Makarov. These two campaigns are by far my favorite, as Black Ops 2 has multiple endings with choices that matter, and Modern Warfare 3 shows you that no one is safe in this story. Next! The multiplayer is by far the most important fan favorite factor of a Call of Duty game, as it is where most of the life and longevity is in the series. This must contain good maps, game modes, weapons, class options, camos, you get the point. This mode is where most players are pouring their hours into, so it must be a polished and well-balanced game mode to keep the community thriving. Black Ops 2 has Nuketown, Hijack, Standoff, Plaza, Raid, and Modern Warfare 3 has Terminal, Resistance, Underground, Mission, and Dome. All classic maps. Next! Now the third game mode is just the cherry on top to finish off a well-crafted Call of Duty game. Modern Warfare had Spec Ops, which featured short co-op campaign missions with difficulty options to add extra challenge. and an amazing survival mode, which played as a sort of playground full of nuance and strategy, where you have to see how long you can survive against waves of soldiers, juggernauts, dogs, and choppers on a variety of different multiplayer maps. Masterclass mode. And Black Ops 2 is one of the series' best executions of their round-based, horde-killing, blood-spilling, co-op, storytelling zombies mode. Almost everything is perfect here, down to the maps, guns, perks, wonder weapons, characters, all of it. Okay, maybe not all of it. Die-Rise and Transit are pretty rough, but almost all of it. Have I made my point yet? Play these games!
Dude, I've heard of this place called the Midnight Channel.
The Midnight Channel? That sounds pretty cool.
It's kind of wonky. I'm not gonna lie with
Okay.
you.
Where can we check that out at?
We can check it on Storylines right now.
Okay.
Welcome back to Storylines, the show where I talk about how one character within the game isn't just a faceless non-playable character or NPC, but an important story device to the world and player. Let's dive into the storyline of this NPC in Persona 4 Golden. This game is about a group of friends solving a string of murders by using special powers through a TV world, and today I will focus on the NPC Yosuke Hanamura. Yosuke is a bombastic and goofy character, and the first friend of the main character, Yu Narukami. Upon first glance, he is the direct comic relief as he is messing up on his bike, rolling around in the trash can, and even kicked in the nuts for a small accident. His social link deals with him grappling with his massive insecurities and masking it as he is related to being a joker for the people to laugh at. Yosuke is just like any other person, insecure about emotions and making jokes about themselves to hide the pain. Narukami notices his feelings of being lonely and not having a special purpose in his life. For example, when he is berated by customers at his store, he knows they use him because he's only the manager's son. That feeling of inadequacy really sells the need to be special in a different way to others. From gossiping students talking trash on his late crush's death to even facing his shadow, Yosuke deals with many struggles to break free from the tendency to be just another joke to his peers or another tool for someone to use him for. His shadow battle is a very pivotal moment, being where he accepts his vulnerabilities and knows it's okay to show emotion.
You're me, and I'm you. When you get down to it, all of this is me.
This is showcased when the same two students who originally trash talk his crush do the exact same thing but in front of his face, and he finally snaps. He tells them to shut up and says how she was the hardest worker he ever met. And even though Saki never liked him, he puts his whole heart in this display and finally expresses how he feels in a burst of emotion. Yosuke does unfortunately sink in on himself again as he closes himself off and adds an insult to how pathetic he acted. But a shred of self-improvement shows as he thanks Narukami for standing up and saying what he's dead. In the final act, Yosuke finally comes full circle with himself. He lets out all of his emotions this time, specifically the sadness and grief. This is the real Yosuke that has been building all game. Because of the friendship built with Narukami, he was fully able to move on from his self-doubt and every negative quality except his jealousy for Narukami being better than him. He confronts him and lets him know of this jealous feeling, then thought if Narukami punched him, he can stop the feeling and stand side by side with him, and the once joking and comedic relief character becomes a more evolved and self-assured character who vows to enjoy every day Saki didn't get to see.
They're all days you didn't live to see. I'm going to live them here.
And with that, this storyline comes to a close. Join me next week for another Persona game, Persona 5 Royal. I'm your host, Logan Hill, signing off.
Here at Tower Yearbook, we are a dedicated staff of photographers, designers, copywriters, and practicum students.
Our staff is a student-led, student-run media outlet, producing a book with over 300 pages. Be sure to pop out at any of our portrait or distribution events.
So stay tuned to our social media to see what's up.
Welcome back, fans, to the best show on KNWT Channel 8, Bearcat Update. I'm your new host, Max Moore, and I don't say that we're the best show because I'm the new host. We have the hardware to prove it.
For decades, Bearcat Update has aimed to be more than just a sports show, but a way to serve and inform the community. Though the technology has changed, we've maintained our persistence to that goal. In Season 75, Bearcat Update is better than ever as we go live every Sunday at 1 p.m.
I've got my blade.
And I got my sorcery.
Let's combine it together in Aaron's reality.
Put on these glasses, and you'll enter the world of the game.
Hello everybody, and welcome to my reality. My name is Aaron, and this is Aaron's Reality, the show that only exists because my school constructed a whole room to play VR games. You know, Northwest is a pretty cool school. But, while most students were out partying, I was studying the Blade. Blade and Sorcery. This medieval fantasy game fully released on June 17, 2024, after spending almost 6 years in early access. As the name suggests, gameplay consists of you, the player, equipping yourself with weapons and magic. The story mode, titled Crystal Hunt, has you start off with selecting one of a variety of abilities that can directly affect enemies or enhance weapons. Here you have to acquire weapons by purchasing them or nabbing them from your fallen enemies. However, if you want to just go wild and ignore the story, you can check out Sandbox mode and have any weapon, shield, or item that you want. You can even swap between all of the powers. Since the 80s, we've been shown so many beautiful fantasy movies and games. Speaking for myself, I have a strong desire to jump into somewhere like Lord of the Rings or Skyrim. The world of Blade and Sorcery looks just like those. It may be a lot of rock and stone, but there's so many different textures that assets don't feel overused. Bladed weapons will penetrate flesh, and if you've got an axe, you can deal gnarly damage. The developer even thought to combine magic and weaponry. Level of detail earns an 8 out of 10. While visual details and features are wonderful, there were a few hiccups here and there. Movement overall was the biggest thing to take me out of the moment. Swaying your hands to run felt a little bit awkward. Climbing was particularly difficult for me, but that could be due to the odd button placements on the HTC Vive controllers. Despite that, the combat felt super smooth. Defeating enemies even feels a bit too real sometimes. Ugh. Immersion earns a guilty 7 out of 10. Oh, whew. Give me a minute. Okay. I'll just go ahead and say that you will most likely get motion sick if you don't frequently play VR. They even give a pop-up to remind you to take a break every once in a while. Fun fact, this is caused by your visual stimuli not aligning with your inner ear's sense of balance. As I said before, the movement is unnatural and clunky. Walking around without your body mimicking the motion is killer. I had to record in about 4 40-minute sessions and still had my stomach twisted for a day or so. Being stationary during the combat is the thing keeping this from being lower, but motion sickness earns a nauseating 3 out of 10. Although the side effects are pretty severe, that doesn't take away from how powerful it makes you feel. Having lightning literally at your fingertips makes you realize why Emperor Palpatine did it. The combat is so much fun, it makes the game worth the price. With time and practice, you can learn how to fight like gods.
Angry gods.
Vibes earn an 8 out of 10. Overall, I enjoyed this game, but the average ends up being a 6.75. This is a wonderful game, but man, the motion sickness really does put a damper on your time. I want to spend as much of my time as possible fighting off waves of enemies, but that's just not in the cards for me right now. If you want to try out Blade and Sorcery for yourself, you can purchase it on Steam and Quest. That's all for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week.
Dude, do you like blowing stuff up?
Dude, I love blowing stuff up.
Do you like puzzles?
I love puzzles.
Yeah. Do you think there's a pack for that?
Oh, there's gotta be. We gotta check out Forgotten Games.
Hello, I'm Taden Hensley, and welcome back to Forgotten Games. Let's talk about the Nintendo Wii, one of the highest selling consoles of all time with many great games that changed the way we play games using motion controls like Wii Sports, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, and Metroid Prime Trilogy. That brings us today about talking about the game Boom Blox. Boom Blox was released on May 6, 2008 and developed by Electronic Arts and directed by Steven Spielberg. Yes, that's Steven Spielberg, the same guy who made iconic movies like Jaws, E.T., and Jurassic Park. Now, you're probably wondering, why did Steven Spielberg direct Boom Blox? He stated that, I really want to create a video game that I can play with my kids. Oh, okay, well that sounds simple enough, but let's actually talk about the game now. Boom Blox is a puzzle-based game where the objective is to keep structures made of blocks from being knocked down or to knock them down yourself by using the remote to throw, grab and blast at blocks, as depending on how fast the ball is thrown, the more blocks you will hit. Boom Blocks has over 300 levels that you can play and over 100 multiplayer levels where you can work together or go against each other. There are many different types of blocks that you'll be running into, as you must strategize on what order you need to take down the blocks. At some levels, you only have a limited amount of balls you can throw before you run out, so you gotta make them count. And depending on how many throws it takes for you to knock down all the blocks, you can receive a gold medal, a silver medal, or a bronze medal. Blocks you will see are gem blocks, blocks of point values, blocks that explode on contact, vanishing blocks, wood blocks, and steel blocks. There are 4 worlds you can explore: the Gem Kingdom, taking place in medieval times, Guerrilla Rescue, which takes place on an island in the jungle, Boots and Bandits, set in the Old West, and Haunted Night, which takes place on Halloween. Boom Blocks also features Create Mode, where you can create levels or edit multiplayer and single player levels by changing the size of the blocks and changing the type of block. If you were into puzzle games like Tetris and Jenga, or just like problem solving and strategizing, then Boom Blocks is the game for you. Boom Blocks received great reviews and even won an award for the best Wii Game of the Year by Spike TV's Video Game Awards. Then, a few years later, Steven Spielberg and EA would once again collaborate and create a sequel to Boom Blocks, Boom Blocks Bash Party. Does Steven Spielberg and his kids still play this game? Who knows, because you don't hear about this game anymore. Because just like other games I covered, Boom Blocks has been forgotten. But that's all the time I got. I'm Taden Hensley, and this has been Forgotten Games.
Kirsten, what are you doing here?
What do you think I'm doing here? Making TikToks? And it's not about what I do, it's about what we do here. So we start with storyboarding the content we want to create for our clients. It could be anyone from small businesses, nonprofits, and organizations both on campus and in the Maryville community. We write, we film, we edit, we create, and then we wait. So if you're someone who thinks you need us, we are KNWT Creative Services.
Finger paints. Water. Egg. Glue. Glitter. By golly, it's perfect!
What is it?
It's loosely related. Thursdays at noon.
Dude, I heard Kendall's going out west this week to Utah.
To Utah? That's so cool. You can do
the desert, right?
Yeah, there's cactuses.
And there's salt water.
Yeah, salt water. They're not even by the ocean. That's crazy.
It's
That's crazy. What's he going down there for? Football?
I think football, yeah. I think it's Saturday to Sunday?
Hello everyone, my name's Kendall, and welcome to another episode of Saturday to Sunday, the show where we follow Dale Doback, a senior quarterback at the University of Oregon, as he plays through his final year of college football. A quick jump to look at the rankings, where we're still sitting number 1 with a 3-0 record, and sliding over to the Heisman race to show that I'm still leading that as well. This week, we're hitting the road again and heading over to Logan, Utah to take on the 0-3 Utah State Aggies in a very damp non-conference matchup. To start this drive, I noticed they came out a 4-2-5 defense, which is 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. The play we had called is a zone shredder, so that's why I was hoping they were in it. Sure enough, they were, and I was able to hit my running back out of the backfield for a decent chunk of yards. Later on in our first drive, we had called a pass play, but when we got to the line, I noticed they had no linebackers in the box. The second level was completely empty. I switched the play to an inside zone, which resulted in a 12-yard carry. To cap off our opening drive, we came to the line with a quick pass called. The 2 inside receivers were running 3 to 4 yard drags across the field. I changed the route of my second receiver to the left to a slant in hopes he could take the defensive back lined up on him across the field away from my tight end. Fortunately for me, they were in man coverage, so the middle receiver took his defender with him, and it left my tight end wide open on his drag. With 8 seconds left in the first quarter, a run play was called just to run the timeout. Utah State had 6 guys up on the line of scrimmage and their defensive backs pressed up. I think a blitz is coming, so I audible to a deep pass, which probably isn't the best idea when you're backed up inside your own 10-yard line. Fortunately, it was just a disguised blitz, but the receiver to my left was able to absolutely torch his guy and take it 94 yards to the house. Coming out of the 2-minute warning on Utah State's 3-yard line, I knew we needed a score to increase our lead. We were running a play within a spacing concept, which is just short routes to space the field in short yardage situations. I put the middle receiver and the bunch off to the right on a drag to give my tight end space to work with, and it paid off as I threw my 3rd touchdown of the game. Coming up on halftime, I wanted to score quick so we could extend our lead to 4 touchdowns. Coming up to the line, they had their defensive backs pressed up and their safeties rolled up pretty far as well. I put the far receiver to the left on a streak as I had confidence he could beat his guy again. Once again, he torches his man, and I lead the ball perfectly for him to catch it in stride to put us up 28-0. Up 28-3 in the 3rd quarter, and we're looking to run some time off the clock and add points to our lead. At the line, they've got 6 guys in the box plus their high safety. I don't really like our odds going 7-on-5, so I switched to a screen to the lower stacked receiver out left. Thankfully, the top receiver was able to hold his block as the receiver with the ball was able to bounce off a couple tacklers and take it to the house. After the touchdown that put us up 35-3, I had a quarterback sneak from a yard out to put us up 42-3 and give me 6 total touchdowns. To start the 4th quarter, all starters were benched to eliminate the risk of injury. I was given player of the game for the 3rd time this year, going 9 of 12 for 325 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Next week, we head out east to take on a conference opponent in the Minnesota Golden Gophers. See you all then.
Dude, I heard this crazy rumor about Zach.
Really? What is it?
It's that he bathes with only Ajax soap.
Like Ajax, like the soap brand?
Yeah,
Ajax?
like that soap right there, that exact soap. Like maybe a different flavor of soap, maybe that flavor too. There's that, yeah, that soap right there.
Dude.
That only one.
Is he talking about it on his pack this week?
Yeah, he's talking about it on Descendants this week.
Let's watch.
Let me tell you how I managed to come back from the ruins.
Welcome back to episode 3 of Descendant 101. I, for one, am pretty excited about what's coming up. Because as a Jedi once said,
this is where the fun begins.
There's a big content update, as well as some reworks and tweaks just around the corner that I've had my eyes on since Season 1 dropped. But as of me recording this, that update still hasn't dropped yet. So, back to what we know for this episode. Today, we're looking at one of my top 3 favorite characters. This was the first Descendant I chose when I started the game, and is still one that I use pretty frequently when I'm just sitting at home grinding out levels. This episode's about the big man bulwark himself, Ajax. If any of you out there watching have ever played a Titan in Destiny 2, you're gonna feel right at home with this guy. He's basically a Titan from that game with just a few extra steps. He's a defender with a battlesuit designed to dish out just as much damage as he protects allies from. And his gameplay, while simple, is still really effective and fun in high-level content. So let's take a look at what this mountain of a man does. Ajax's first ability is called Orbit Barrier. He'll throw down a protective barrier that will ricochet enemy fire back at them, while allowing you to safely sit behind it and shoot through. His second is a ground pound called Void Walk. Upon activation, Ajax will leap into the air and come crashing down on the ground. Any enemies that aren't killed in the process will get stunned. And just a little trick, you can manipulate this jump for extra air if you need it once you learn the timing. But just watch those large gaps, because you can't cancel the jump. His third ability is my personal favorite, Expulsion. It's a simple explosion that does knockback damage against enemies. But he has a mod that gives you a second charge of this, so you can utterly wipe the floor with ads if you have a quick cooldown by spamming it. His fourth is called Hypercube. Similar to his first ability, Ajax will drop down a large bubble shield that surrounds him, but doesn't ricochet bullets back. However, it is a much stronger shield and protects you from all directions. And last but not least is his passive ability, Event Horizon. Ajax is one of the few Descendants to have both an MP and a special bar, that gold one down there. Every time you use an ability, it adds a charge. Once it's fully charged, the next ability you use will have improved effect. So in other words, his place shields will last longer, or his damaging abilities will do more damage and have a larger area of effect. It also adds the Singularity buff, which makes his ability cooldowns a little bit quicker. See why I like him so much? Ajax is an absolute beast. He may not do a lot of damage to Colossi bosses, but he's an amazing mob clearer and can keep you and your buddies alive just a little bit longer. He's perfect for just about every activity in the game. And on top of all that, his stats are stacked. He's a bullet sponge. I highly recommend snagging him. Next week, I'm taking a look at a character that was once an underdog, and now she's tied for being one of the deadliest descendants in the entire game. It's been Zach on Gentoo, signing off.
Hey Gabe, what's your favorite paradox?
Paradox? I think my favorite has to be the Raven paradox. What about you?
You are.
What?
I mean, what do you think?
I don't think.
Good old Descartes. Got him. Anyway, that's all we have this week for Gentoo. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Well, shoot, now I don't have a co-host. I'm not really sure what to do next. I wonder if he'll come back. No, I don't think.